I ended up doing was I took the little ice cream stick and I cut off part of it so that I could get a 1/16 of an inch closer. And it still wasn't enough to get that full frame. So maybe what I need to do is get much, much closer. Yes. I just don't get why I can't get the full. So I end up having to take images outside R of just quadrants. And so you can actually see parts of the mirror and to check to see if there's any turned edge or not. And from what I could tell by eye, the day before I saw hints. I didn't see it by eye. I thought I was just fine. Here we have it right there. That if you go back, Tom, to that other one, there, that's outside R, and it's not. Yeah, there you go. And from what I can tell, there's no turned edge there.
And I don't see any obvious turned edge. No.
No, but the day before, the image I had the day before, if you were to imagine the very outside line that isn't showing here horizontally. Yeah. There was a little tiny turnout, and I thought, oh God, I got a small turned edge, and I think I showed that to someone, Mike. I showed it to Mike, and he said, yeah, there might be a little bit of a turned edge.
But it could also be your bevel too.
I don't think so. Tom and I went over that. Tom Whittemore and I went over that. He says what happens with the bevel. Okay. Here, let me start again here on something. Joe Doyle and by the way, I saw Joe's here. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Tim.
Joe had a mirror that was made by on his 18. It was made by a company. I can't remember their name.
Taurus.
And I went to the Taurus website, and these guys, they said when you're reading an outside R image with a ronchogram, and you see that little turn away. He said, don't pay any attention to that. It's really not turned. It happens to be right at the edge where the bevel is, and it's giving you that read. So, Tom,
the people at Taurus have no right to say that, since they turned out a whole bunch of mirrors with turned down edges.
Exactly. Now the other thing is here, and I think Jerry's going to agree with this, that Tom Whittemore, and I think Jerry too, said that what happens with the bevel, it's unpolished. So it's not going to reflect any. There's not going to be no return there anyway.
Yeah.
So it'll create. It fills. It reduces the contrast of the image because it scatters light.
Yeah. So with the turned edge, it'll do that, Bruce. But here, I think what I had is I've been chasing this turned edge forever now. I mean, I look back at my pictures that I was going to show you guys tonight. I actually found one in 2017. So I've been at this thing for 3 years. I'm embarrassed by that. But, Ed Edwards one night told me, he said, don't worry about it, Tim. I have a telescope I haven't finished. I started in 1958. So he actually sees the humor in it all. To me, I think that when I'm looking at the inside R image, I think that what I see is a very, very small at the edge, like a 95 zone. It turns in there quite a bit. That right there, that image right there, I think that was May 2018. And I had some real issues with the mirrors back then. I think what was happening is that, and Tom Whittemore, Jerry Wilson, we went over this in the workshop. And it turned out that they said, look, I think the issue here is you're not pressing enough. And sure enough, I found that to be true. I ended up having to press out before I went to the meeting about an hour, and at least an hour before. If I just went to the meeting and just started going, I ended up with all these, like Chuck used to say, Mr. Peanut pictures. So that's where I ended up going with it all. But as far as...
Well, you can take a Sharpie pen and blacken that beveled edge. If you think that's part of the problem, blacken it so it doesn't reflect and see if the problem goes away.
Oh, Bruce, good point. You know what? We did that one night, and it didn't do a thing. It just did. The turned edge was still there.
So it's further in from the beveled edge. That's all.
Yeah. It was actually turned. And so you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Well, here's this latest image. You can see that when it gets right out at the 100 zone, it looks like it just kind of rolls in. But I just don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I think when I look at it inside R, outside R, I think I've got a pretty good correction going. And what's happening, two things. I don't know how to get an image with my iPhone outside R and get a full frame. And I think Jerry was just saying that I got to get that camera, that iPhone closer.
Maybe it's time for star testing.
Yeah, and I don't think it's time yet, because, you know, Mike, I don't think that image and that, I don't think they jive. I think I have to do a little bit more correction.
You're more corrected, but the thing is that with the star testing, you should still be able to see if you got a turned edge.
Oh, really? Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. Well, the one great thing about having this scope already made is that I can load it in the cell and just go outside and focus on a real bright star. So
well, Tim,
I can.
Let me ask you a question, Tim. Or actually, Mike, how would you, with a star test, how would that show you a turned edge?
On one side of the focus, the outside part becomes fuzzy. Here, let me get my my book.
The book.
I have, well, yeah, I've got all my books here at hand. It looks a little, strange.
Yeah, that's right. When you do the star test, on one side of focus, everything is pretty sharp, but on the other side, not so much. The trouble is, seeing can also make a similar effect, and you have to watch for that.
Right.
And we've had plenty of bad seeing.
So one of the things, and Jerry, this is to you. Tom Whittemore has been working with me with subdiameter laps. I'm working with about a 4.5 inch subdiameter laps, and he showed me this parabolizing stroke, how to do it. And it seems that when I use that stroke, I just kind of go to where this is, and I don't progress any further. So when I try to do some kind of, when I try to do a little bit more pronounced stroke, I worry about turning an edge, and it also, it doesn't really, I don't know, it just doesn't affect it right. So I don't know, what would you recommend me just continuing what Tom showed me, see if I can't get more correction, or switching to a full lap?
What size is this mirror? 10 inch, 8 inch?
8 inch.
8 inch. And you're doing a 4.5 sub diameter?
But that's the 4.5 sub diameter. What I'm doing is the W stroke with that lap on top, and the edge of the lap, it just barely goes over the outside of the 8 inch mirror, if at all. Yesterday I ran a lot of the parabolizing stroke actually inside, or just inside the 100 zone, all the way across. Then I started.
How long have you done that stroke?
It's a maximum in the last two days of about 2 hours.
2 hours. So you've done a total of about 4 hours.
No, I've done a total of 2 hours.
A total of 2 hours. And you don't see any change in the Ronchi pattern or the focal length?
The only change I really saw was that the edge was better.
Okay.
But no, I just I looked carefully. Tom has one that was the day before, and you can look at that. And I mean, I went through a good hour and a half, and it just didn't seem to change very much. So
that's not what you'd expect for that stroke. So again, maybe your pitch is too hard, or you're not pressing long enough. The weather's been very cold, and pitches, the strokes always are meant to operate at room temperature around 70 degrees. If you're operating much in a room that's much warmer than that or much colder than that, you'll get different effects from what you expect.
Okay.
So where do you do this? Are you doing it outside?
Inside. I'm inside in a very controlled, probably 72 degree inside.
Okay. Well, that takes care of that.
And I heated up the pitch pretty good. I mean, what I do now is, since I kind of warm it up in a little Tupperware, and I'm not really happy with the heat, the glass from the tool, it just takes all the heat away from the water. So I just microwave water and add it to
glass disc too.
Yeah. And
if-
I've been pressing out a good hour to 2 hours.
Okay, well, let's do it. What weight do you have on there?
It is one of the Takahashi weights. I'm guessing that it's about 4 pounds.
Okay, well, that should do it.
Yeah, if you want to put me up here, here's the picture of the turned edge. I don't know if you can see it very well. The middle one is a turned
Oh,
edge.
yeah.
It's inside and outside. So the top one's a perfect, and so that's how you
Okay.
can tell from star testing.
Okay.
So it looks like the bottom one has a brighter ring on it.
And then the middle one is a fuzzy, which
Yeah,
is on the other side of
I can
focus.
just see that.
I know it's
No, I know what you mean. On one side, it's probably the lower one is outside R. Oh no, it would be inside R. And then
it's
the other
outside R, inside, yeah, inside
Okay.
focus is
And
fuzzy.
Tim,
on
you
the,
have that book, don't you? The star testing telescopes book?
I do.
Yeah.
I actually have a picture here that has a lot of that. I don't want to bring that up, or I could send it to Tom and he could share it, but I don't know if it has all that information in it. But it has most of the things that the star tests show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just want to mention to everybody that, you know, if you want to blow up when the speaker is talking, there you can go in the upper right-hand corner and change your
Yeah.
view to speaker view, and then you get a bigger view of the person who's talking. But it's kind of jumps around that way if multiple people are talking. But you can, you know, that sometimes that'll give you a larger view of that person who's talking, or maybe they're showing you a book like Mike did of their page. So that's a choice you can make up there in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh, there's Farshad. I didn't even know Farshad was here. Hey, Farshad. So,
Oh, he's
Tom,
muted.
you know what? You look like Phil Plait.
Yeah.
Like who?
Oh,
Go
it's the
here.
bad astronomer.
Guy who has
Well,
raises goats. Farshad, I don't think we can hear your microphone. Are you muted?
He's
Now I'm not. Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
Yep.
just dropped in for a few minutes to see how everybody's doing.
Yep. We're still
So
here.
far,
We're hanging in there.
Yeah.
So Chuck, this guy you just mentioned, is he the guy that invented plate solving?
No.
So, Tim, you had a question about tube currents that you wanted to ask Jerry.
Andy Allen had an 8-inch scope that he made that he had to carry it in his car. So it was one of these things that was kind of collapsible. And when he brought it all out, he had placed 2 different fans, one below the mirror and one above the mirror. And it just really had good views. His scope had better views in an 8-inch by far than any I've ever seen. It was a good
Is
mirror.
it a Newtonian reflector?
Yes.
It was a Dob, and he got the mirror.
And did it have a solid tube or struts?
It was a Dobsonian that was collapsible.
So
So
did
he had
it
the
have
tube
solid
was kind of
sides or open sides?
closed.
He had closed sides. It was like a stovepipe in 2 pieces that he could
Oh,
stitch
okay.
together in the middle.
Okay.
Right.
Huh.
Andy did every single thing you've ever heard of to improve a scope on that telescope. Plus, he had a really good mirror.
He had a good
And
match.
Tim is right. It was a superb telescope.
He got a good.
Tomorrow's his birthday.
Tomorrow's Andy's birthday?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Well, shoot him a ring. That scope. Everybody was out at the museum that night that he brought his scope, and we got to Orion, and of course, we were working on the trapezium, and I think all of us were kind of struggling to get E and F stars. And you went over to Andy's scope, and they were just easy. They were just clearly easier to see. And I mean, I had
Last night the seeing. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Last night
it was
the seeing was just spectacular. I was looking at later in the evening at M42, and the trapezium just stood out. There was no question. You know, it wasn't fuzzy or anything else. It was great.
Yeah. So anyway, I think the question I was going to have, I think we kind of skirted it 2 meetings ago, and I was saying, look, if you have all these star tests you know, the books that like Mike was showing about all the different star test patterns. And my question was, is when Andy was blowing all this air all over his in front of his mirror and behind his mirror, would that affect the image quality? And obviously
For star
not.
test, absolutely.
It'll make
For
it
star
better.
test, yeah. The
So
thing
it
is,
makes it-
Tim, you have to remember the fans work better when your mirror is warm compared to ambient. Later in the evening, when your mirror is cooled off, the fans don't make much difference. But early in the evening, they make a huge difference.
And the
So
fan in front would promote laminar flow over the front of the mirror, so you wouldn't get the turbulence that causes some of the fuzziness.
Yeah.
You would not?
You would
Right.
reduce it. It would
You'd
reduce it.
Because here's where I think where I wasn't getting it is on a night when you have the upper atmosphere is really turbulent, and we're obviously not seeing really good images there. And in my mind, I can't understand why fans inside of a closed tube would be
They
any
wouldn't help with the global seeing, but they would help with any kind of local tube
Right.
currents.
If the
Yeah,
limit is
Tim-
your telescope, then they help.
Right, Tim, because what happens is warm air comes off the mirror, and the warm air moving acts like a lens, and it makes the image fuzzy.
That warm air that Joe mentions has to come off the mirror, and then it has to go up the tube and stay in front of the mirror, and then it goes out the top of the tube. You want to have it blow away so it doesn't have to travel up the tube.
Right.
Either
You don't want to blow, because when you blow air, the energy you impart to the air to blow it increases the temperature of the air.
Yeah, so
You
what
wanna
you want
suck.
to do is you want to have the fan behind the mirror.
Yeah, you want to suck the
out of
air so the heat goes away from the mirror, not toward
Right.
it.
Now,
It's sucking
I don't think the energy that comes off the fan in terms of heat is significant.
You'd be surprised.
No, but it's where the mirror, where the hot air from the mirror goes. You don't want it to have to go up the tube. You want it to have
Well,
it
there you, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's
and then out the bottom of the tube. Some people put fans on on the side of the tube in a window to blow right across the mirror, and then they have windows on the other side so the air is blown out of the tube.
And that's
Right.
what I think Andy did with the
That's what
with
Andy
the fan
did.
blowing on the front of the mirror.
Yeah.
Right. And he had one behind. He had one underneath that was probably exiting the air behind the scope,
Yeah.
behind the tube, and then the one on top. I don't know if that was blowing through horizontally or out the front. I don't know that.
Oh, that's
But
what blowing across.
It's blowing
yeah.
across, and it
Also-
was definitely a better image quality. I mean,
Well-
really good quality.
Well, if
Right.
if one tube slid in another, it's possible that before the air had a chance to really do a lot of damage and escaped around whatever opening there was between the two tubes, you know.
So,
that's another possibility.
So if building this tube, I still don't have any fans on it, but it would probably be really a good idea to put one above and below.
That's right. No,
And then the
above
one behind it, you want it to exit out the back of the tube. And
Right.
the one in front, you want to blow it out the front of the tube?
No, you don't
No.
want anything involved in the front of the tube. You want to blow it off to the side of the tube.
Right.
To the side.
Yeah, make
Okay.
it-
Just
Yeah.
across the face of the mirror.
When
Yeah.
you have
Okay.
when you have the tube horizontal, I think the best case scenario would be, correct me if
Okay.
I'm wrong, is to have it blow out if it's on top of the tube and have it blow out with holes on the bottom. That gets rid of your heat.
If you ever
So you're
visit-
bringing in ambient air.
If you
Yeah.
ever visit the really big telescopes out on Hawaii, that you go during the daytime and the tube is all, the dome is all closed up and sealed, and they refrigerate the entire inside of the dome. So that
Yeah.
it's at the temperature that the night is going to be up there at
Yeah.
about 2 to 3 a.m., they told me. So you have to wear a parka in there during the day if you're on a tour. And that way they've got the mirror already at thermal equilibrium for the coldest part of the night when they do their observing. So they don't have to worry about fans when they're operating the scope. It's only for us to take it out of a warm room or we don't cool it off during the day that when
Right.
at night, as Joe said, later on in the evening after your mirror has, if you have a lightweight or thin mirror, and that's the advantage of it, it'll come to thermal equilibrium very quickly, and then it won't be producing these convective currents that screw up your seeing.
Now, can you turn
Right,
your fan?
and that's why you want to have the second mirror blowing on the glass, maybe from behind, to help speed up how quickly the glass cools off.
Now, Joe, if I put a fan below the mirror, and it's going to exit out the back, the second one, is it good to put the fan on the side of the tube in front of it, so it's going to blow over the?
Well, I'm not sure what you meant by below, but basically you want to have air moving to break up the boundary layer and the tube currents, and you want air moving to cool off the glass. So there's two different jobs in there.
Oh.
And if you were a genius like I know you are, maybe you could figure out how to do that with one fan. But a dummy like me needed two.
Yeah, I gotta figure this out. I'm still not.
And you know what? There's one other factor, and I because I have two fans on my Obsession, and I can see vibration from those fans. Well, if I'm trying to look at a planet at say 250 power, you can tell those fans impart a subtle vibration.
How do you have those fans mounted to your tube?
One of them is a squirrel cage fan that's mounted on the wood box that holds the mirror.
Okay.
Right.
And the other one is on the mirror cell.
Okay. When I use them, I mount them on the back of the mirror cell, and the back of the tube. I suspend it under the mirror cell on rubber bands.
That works. Yeah, my scope doesn't have a good opportunity for that.
Okay.
I kind of solved the problem by wiring it so the fans can run at either 6 volts or 12 volts. At 12 volts, they blow hard and they move a lot of air. And at 6 volts, they blow much more gently.
Well, there's another way.
I saw one that was on bungee cords.
Goes in the square of the voltage.
Yeah. But what you could do is mount the fans on some rubber gaskets, some
that's what Jerry was saying.
Yeah.
I saw a scope that, especially a Dob, where they put little pinholes inside of the sonotube, and they just hooked up little bungee cords and connected those to the fan, and just like hung in midair.
Some kind of flexible support in there. Bungee cords.
Yeah.
You want compliant, dissipative type of holding where it's, it's springy, but it gets rid of it in the material.
Okay, so maybe I'm a little.
My tubes have all come to temperature. It's time to send them up, and I'm going to bow out.
All right, Bruce.
All right, Bruce. Take care.
Bruce.
Good luck, Bruce.
Take care, Bruce. I'm a little bit dense on the fan in the front of the mirror. What I've done is I mounted on my 10-inch. I mounted the fan on the back of the mirror box.
Right.
And it exits. It blows out. So it's sucking all the hot air back out of it. So and that works pretty good. I don't see any vibration with that. But the second mirror that like Andy hooked up, I'm still a little bit unclear on how to hook that over the mirror. You want it right over the surface of the mirror.
No, you want it blowing across the mirror.
Right.
So from the side. So you could put it on the tube. You could put it on some sort of spongy foam and then attach that foam to the side of the tube. In other words, have a hole a lot larger than the fan is, so that you have the foam is like a spring.
Now, Mike, on the opposite side of the fan, do I want to put a vent there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll figure something out.
I mean, if you really want to be tricky, you would use fan going into corrugated cardboard and you blow across the mirror with a laminar flow. But, I don't think that's necessary.
And you want to have your vent baffled so light doesn't come in and shine.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's another thing.
Well, that's all you need to do is just put another, shroud over it. Yeah. And
standing on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good info. That's really good info. I got a lot out of that. So, I mean, I was really impressed. Andy's mirror, I mean, it was beating scopes that were 12-inch, 10-inch
Well,
easily.
was that his uncle's mirror or whatever that he got? Or was it one he made?
You know, it wasn't one he made. He got it from someone, and it
Okay,
was
that was like a 1/32nd wave mirror.
yeah. That thing was really a good mirror.
That's a
I don't know where he got it from.
So Andy Allen, is he the guy who works at the library?
Yep.
He
He used to work at
to.
the library. Now he works for Yardy Systems.
Okay, good, very good.
Well,
Who's
last
Yardy
I
Systems?
heard.
So does anyone else have any other subjects they want to bring up?
I've
Yeah,
got,
I've been working on my scope, and I've got something here to show you.
You might want to go to speaker view to see Mike here.
Okay, and I got pictures to show of it also.
Mike, you're kind of dark on my screen. Can you turn on a light in your office there?
Well, it's like my
We actually did
normal-
earler.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, by the way, guys, thanks for all that info. I really appreciate it.
Let me do a share screen, and I can go to okay, hold a second here.
You'll only show up briefly.
And where are you?
Well, just tell me when and I'll cover it up.
Okay, and let me go to the windy skies.
No, go ahead. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Let me see here. And okay, let me go back to the oops.
Everybody sees Mike's sweatshirt. It says psychopath because he rides bicycles.
Okay, hold a second. I can't find it this way. Let me get out of this. Okay, not responding, close program. Of course, I'm gonna do something.
while he's doing that, I got a question, sort of a simple question. So I went out to the desert this last Saturday night, way down by Cadiz in the Marble Mountains down there, and I took the telescope, and all went fine. There were a bunch of guys camping and everything, and everybody had a great time looking through it. The question I have is,
on there, so on Facebook that the airport is having this event. We immediately shared the
Go ahead.
I set it up, not perfect, but generally north, and then I did a 2-star, and then I did, I think, 3 extra stars calibration, and that was good enough. And the go-to was working great. So, I mean, I'm seeing all kinds of amazing things, Crab Nebula, Ring Nebula. And what's interesting is then eventually went away from it for like half hour, 45 minutes or more, came back. The object that was last on was now gone. So, obviously it's not tracking perfectly. But here's the thing. If you hit go to and you go to the thing that was tracking, it goes to it perfectly. So my question is, this is a Celestron AVX mount. If it knows where to go to, why, in that part of the software, why can't it just keep tracking? You know what I mean? It knows where it is in one part of the software, and yet when it's tracking, it loses track.
No, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't
Isn't
know.
that bizarre? I'm going to email it to Celestron, which I haven't yet, but I thought, I had it on Andromeda, is right dead center and everything, go away for a half hour, come back, it's gone. I just hit enter and it goes, zzz, and it's right on Andromeda again.
Had it gone past the meridian during that time?
No.
Yeah, that's the real puzzlement. I have no idea how that happened. I've never.
Well, my mount has a lunar rate and then a star rate, so it tracks at different rates.
Yeah, but it's a question of go-to. If go-to knows where it is, why can't tracking know where it is? So
it should.
I'm going to do the night scope thing.
Were you still in? Were you still in calibration mode? Perhaps.
No. I had done back. I was out of calibration because we had looked at a couple of dozen different things. Looked at all the planets.
Were you running off battery power?
I was running a battery, but I'll tell you what. I ran the battery. I left it on all night.
Yeah.
And when I got up in the morning, I had it pointed at the moon, and the moon was still up. It hadn't gone below the horizon, and I moved it around, and it was still slewing. So the battery went all night. Okay, one of those big power batteries. So
maybe it had maybe the voltage was down slightly, and it affected tracking, but not go to. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there might be a simple answer, but it
There
just
probably is, but I don't know it.
Yeah, it hit me like, wow, that's interesting. So
They
Bob,
probably don't want to be reading the encoders all the time. So once they get you there, they just say, okay, well, I'm there, and they default to whatever their tracking rate is.
yeah,
And when
yeah,
you say go to, they read the encoders again and go, whoa, holy shit, I'm off target. I better move.
yeah,
hey, Bob,
yeah.
I've heard, Bob, that it depends on your weights, that you want to be like east heavy or west heavy, and that will help the scope track. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
For backlash,
That-
yeah.
What Chuck said makes sense because it's following the algorithm. It's not following, like
Yeah.
you said, the encoder.
Yeah, but the AVX does not have encoders, does it? I think it's just stepper motors.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
What kind of mount do you have, Bob?
It's the Advanced VX mount, Celestron, German Equatorial.
Okay.
But it just seemed curious to me. I thought, you know, when it happened out there, I thought, I got to ask these guys on Tuesday, what is going on here, you know?
I have the same problem with my CGX, and they're talking about making sure the weights are east or west heavy, and then it might track.
Because there must be a little backlash in the gears somewhere then.
There is there. If you got to front load it or back load it, then yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here? Someone's
Mike Chibik.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my,
Oh, okay. Can you see this here?
Yeah.
So basically, what I did was I had some more material of the upper cage that I made my telescope out of. If you
I'm
remember.
not looking at a picture. I'm looking at a directory.
Oh, okay. Hold a second. Let me get out of
Computer
the
and zoom
stop
solid.
share.
There you are.
Let me just do a share and
Try a different
okay.
share.
Okay, if you remember, this is the upper
Okay.
cage of my 10-inch telescope. It's made with that gator board, you know, which worked out really well. And so one of the things that I did, which is this, is a cell phone holder, because a lot of the applications for like the iPhone or the Android phone uses the accelerometer and the compass to find things. It's got like a compass mode. So you stick that on the telescope and you can use that as an electronic finder. So, you know, like during star parties or other times where you really can't see the faint stars for some of the other constellations and you don't have a go-to scope, you could use this instead.
That's what
So-
Celestron does on some of their lower end
Yeah.
scopes now too.
Only this was made for about $5.
Yeah.
The driver was this here that I got at the dollar store.
So, Mike, are you saying that your cell phone has an app on it that you
oh
can
yeah,
calibrate it to the stars, and then after you do one star, it'll find everything else for you?
yeah.
It's more like a push to.
Yeah, it's a push to.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Which application are you using
I'm
that
trying
will
to-
help you do that?
I'm trying to find it now.
Sky
Sky-
Safari will do that.
That's what it is. It's Sky Safari.
So I think they call that indirect. Is it like indirect?
You
I've
go-
got it on my.
You go. It's on compass. You put it on compass, and where you I don't know if you can see it, but you can see where the stars move as I do it. I suppose it's accurate enough for a low power eyepiece. So
I've tried it too, Mike, and you know, with my Z12, and in my experience, you have to be at least 2 foot away in order for the magnetometer to work accurately. You know, this was a
Right.
Zoom
Personality.
Yeah, the inclinometer is quite accurate. Those can be accurate to within a fraction of a degree, but
Yeah.
the magnetometer is very sensitive to metal. So
okay.
Yeah, that's what happened to me when I mounted on the side of my 12-inch Dob, which is a steel tube. That it wouldn't work. Yeah.
Well, you know, my scopes is it's
Sonotube.
Sonotube. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Sonotubes are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They beat
so-
carbon fiber in
Oh.
price.
Yeah. So anyways, let me show you a quick rundown on the the pictures that I had, so you can see that I got just about most of the planet. So this is the Citrus major, and this part. Now this is an interesting comparison. This is Christopher Go's picture on the right, mine on the left. So, and this is the first time I was able to get Solus Flaccus in any pictures. So, anyways, I'll stop share.
Very good.
So,
All right. Hey,
so,
Chris, it's good to see you. It's been ages.
oh
Oh, hi,
yeah,
Christopher.
How you been doing?
I'm all right. You know, I think I showed up a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember if I'm coming or going, but I'm doing all right. I'm enjoying this. You know, I was never able to make the drive on Tuesday nights, you know, from Ventura. I tried, but by the time I would get there, you know, get back. So it's nice to hear what everybody's up to, you know. How are you guys doing?
Good.
yeah.
Sounds like
Fantastic.
everybody has more
No
time
complaints
outside.
here.
Was that a joke
I think
about the mirror, Tim, or not? About in the email that you
What's
were
that?
going to. Is it a joke about you finishing the mirror, or you really did the 8-inch?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
not, I
okay.
didn't. We showed it a little bit earlier. It needs more correction, but I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
It's just been, it's been, I
one
think,
zone at a
3
time.
years.
I had a
You know,
question, Jerry. You were saying, you know, I think the last time I came a few weeks ago, or whatever, you were saying that you had an outdoor cover
Yes.
for one of your telescopes. What can you recommend something? Because that seemed like a really good. At least for me, it's just.
You know, I got it so long ago, and I've seen other people at places like CalStar have the similar cover.
Scope gizmos, or
It's called a, what is it called? A 365 cover or something like that. It's got, because you leave it out all year if you want to.
Yeah, I was looking at Astronomics, and they had a bunch, but I wasn't sure what was good and what was, you know, what was not going to be good. But I should just look up. I guess just reading the reviews, huh? And look for 365.
Yeah, I'll look up what I have and send you some kind of citation for it.
Because I think that would help me a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one called the Desert Storm Shield.
Oh, okay.
But it wouldn't last. You couldn't use it every night of the year. You could use it a couple nights at a star party, but if you left it out every night or left it out in the sun every day, it would degrade.
I think.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jerry,
I was hoping to be able to kind of make a little.
Jerry, send it to the group. I'm curious too.
Let me look it up right now. I think there's a one called Telegizmos.
I think that's where I got mine.
I can't remember what mine is, but it has a reflective outer surface.
Oh,
so that if the sun hits it, it just gets rid of all the.
Mine has a reflective inner surface.
Yes, it's the Telegizmos 365.
Yeah,
and I've got two. One was given to me, and they work excellent. I had my when I was working in Santa Barbara, and I had my Misu set up. I just left it out, and that survived the rain and all. So.
Well, that would be kind of that would be amazing because of my house configuration and stuff. My telescopes are kind of in fairly inconvenient places, so it's a deterrent.
I also test my systems with a data logger. If you're all familiar with that, it's a little gizmo that looks like a thumb drive, and you program it to record humidity and temperature. We used to use them. When we made satellites at Hughes and at Raytheon, we'd put we guaranteed things, and so but we had to know that they were stored. The satellites and the instruments were stored at a certain temperature and humidity range. Otherwise, the temperature or the guarantee was void. So we would hide these things in the shipping container and around in the case for the instrument. And then you can get it back, you know, a month later, and you can read what the temperature was. You can have it sample every 10 minutes for say 6 months, and you can read what it is. I put one of these inside my telescope when it has the 365 on it, and then I make sure that everything is good. there are a couple of times when right here next to the coast, it was real foggy and there was a chance of condensing water on my optics. So I would put a 20-watt light bulb on a cord inside my tube, and then I'd put the cover on and leave it like that during the foggy period. But the rest of the time, it kept rain out and everything. It's a good.
Because rain, I guess, has direction. Fog is kind of insidious.
I just put a barbecue cover on a bandsaw. It's a little bit heavy, but hey, it would fit like a Daub pretty good, and it's waterproof. But
on Astronomics, they had a bunch that are kind of looser for Daubs and stuff. It seems like they had everything.
Yeah.
That Desert Storm one that Joe has
in the chat, if you guys wanted it. I don't know if you guys. I mean, it seems.
I think Joe had this one, this Desert Storm one. It also has a weight. So if your scope is going to be blown around in the wind, the weight will hold it down on the ground.
No, mine has a cord. You tie it around the base, and it's on a pedestal, and then you tie it so it's tight around the pedestal.
And what I used to do is take some bungee cords and just wrap it around certain places to keep it from flying away.
I use
bugs out.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit the barbecue cover got a nasty spider.
Oh yeah, the spiders like these scope covers.
Yeah. What was that one? Who had that? Was that you, Mike?
Hot Products.
Chris had given the link to Telegizmos.
Yeah.
So that was Telegizmos.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the one I got. I don't know. It's kind of a reflective outside. It's real light, super light.
Telegizmos is reflective on the inside.
Yeah, and it's got thick plastic on the outside that withstands.
Oh yeah, these ones have, and they have. I'm even looking now. The High Point Scientific has them. They have little, almost like on a sweater, those little cinchy things, so you could pull it tight.
Yeah.
Looks like it has Velcro.
Yeah, I have one for my solar telescope. It's Velcro. Edges on it.
Well, I use the camping. They have reflective camping blankets that.
Oh, the space blankets.
Space blankets, but the heavier ones that's orange on the outside and silver on the inside, they last for about a couple months, and then they start just
Oh no, I've used my cover for over 10 years.
Well, the Telegizmos is got the good stuff. It's got the Zodiac boat stuff on the outside. Really holds up.
Jerry, which one is yours?
The Telegizmo.
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 Okay.
65. Well, that's not it.
No.
Oh well. Can't find it.
Just do a search on Telegizmos. That's how
I put two more links on there and it's on High Point. You could see it if you look in the chat. One's for a Daub. The most recent one is for a 12-inch Daub, and the other one, there you go.
Yeah, that.
And then they have one for like Meade kind of Celestron.
I would get the other one because that's got that clear plastic, and that tends to go.
Well, speaking of going, I need to. So it's been good to see everybody.
Okay.
Hope to see you all next week.
See you, Joe.
Toodle-oodle.
Okay.
See you, Joe.
So Chris, how are you teaching remotely?
It's a ton of fun. I love it.
It's hard to get your hands dirty. Sculpting.
There's there's positives and negatives. It's more. I've had to kind of get more formal, which is in some ways was a benefit. Like I had to commit and I had to do it. It's just been a ton of work, like just producing kind of different kind of annotated lectures rather than, I got used to talking for hours and somehow writing it all down, and it was actually way harder, but in the future, the nice thing is in the summer, I'll probably teach a little bit online and hopefully travel, you know what I mean? Just make a little extra money travel. So, I mean, that should be good, but I miss kind of working with people. I don't miss the commute, it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be. The school's kind of in rough shape, financially. It's actually very City College, Santa Barbara City College is in really bad shape financially. So that's kind of I mean, I'm fine, but they're putting a lot of pressure on everybody there.
What's the reason for their financial difficulties? Is are taxes down or?
Yeah, I mean, there's the trend. If you think about it, I mean, I guess I'm an example too, but it's not there's not as many young families in Santa Barbara just because it's so expensive. So a lot of people moved down. So the high school graduating rate has been, you know, lower and lower. And we had good international students. I think we had 12% international students. And obviously the pandemic made that not good, but also there was a backlash from some members in the community and on the board to having international students because of, I guess they were kind of blaming them for driving up the rent in the Mesa and stuff. I don't know. And so, you know, that was one thing. And then there were some really weird hiring things they did. They hired a bunch of people without having really clear, you know, lines, faculty lines, like sources of revenue for them. And a lot of those things were based on big grants they got like 5 years ago. And now all of a sudden they have all these employees that they have to find it's like, oops, you know, they have to find a way to pay for them. So, but the enrollment's been down for like 5 years. It's been steadily down, and we haven't had any. I think I'm on my 4th president since I got hired. So it's the kind of thing people pass the buck, and so we'll see.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Well, if you want a president that doesn't want to leave, we can arrange for that.
I feel like
Okay.
Yeah, like we have the opposite problem. We have people who like get the seat warm.
So let me share a screen with you because it shows the telegizmo thing I use.
Oh, let me see it. Yeah.
Oops. Wait a minute.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now this is on Amazon, but it's sort of a canvassy looking thing on the outside, but it's got the reflective thing on the inside.
Right.
So it's Telegizmos 365, and they make it for 8 and 10 inch gems in this case. But I contacted the guy and he made one for my 12.5 inch. And the only thing he needs to customize it is the distance between the top end of your scope when it's in park and as far down the leg of the tripod as you want to go.
Right.
Okay. So for my 10 inch Celestron, I probably would use that one.
Yeah.
That would be fine.
It's $39 or something.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
And what I do is I use big paper clips and bungees and tie the bottom so that it doesn't flap in the breeze.
Yeah.
Jerry, click on that available from these sellers. I don't think that other one was the 39.
Yeah, that cost was for the camera mount.
Oh, you're right.
Hit the available from these sellers and you know, below the stars, below the ratings.
It's probably $100 or so, $200, but it's worth it. They last a long time.
The other
179 down there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the big one. Yeah, that's the big one. But okay, it's in that neighborhood.
But that's the 365. The other ones, that's just for people that take it out for the weekend, because the plastic it goes. Because like I said, I got a couple of those.
I've had mine on and off the scope for like a year. It takes everything.
Yeah.
Right
So
now,
that's better than the reflective ones.
It's reflective on the inside.
Yeah, it's reflective on the inside. This is the only one I've ever had, so I can't make any kind of comparison.
So why would the reflection be on the inside instead of being outside reflecting?
It doesn't matter. You can't see the radiation that it's reflecting anyway.
Huh.
That's why I wear all my lead undergarments under my clothes.
Yeah.
I got one of those like miners long suits with the flap. It's all lead, but I'm protected.
Okay. Well, you've had all the kids you want anyway, I think. See, how do I get? Oh, there it is. Stop share. Okay.
Speaking about something relevant to, change the subject, but it's relevant to what's happening today, is this book by Neil Stephenson, Quicksilver. And I'm just partly through. It's a very dense book, but it's about at the time of Newton and Leibniz, and just after the Great Fire conflagration of London, which I did a talk on about 6 months ago. Okay, and I talked, and at that time I learned about Pepys and all that, and Hooke. You know, they are all part of the natural philosophers.
Is that 1660s you're talking about?
In the late 1600s, early 1700s, where they had the Black Plague go through. Okay, so it's a very interesting book. It's, you know, when you think about it, you know, plagues have been coming and going since creation. I mean, you take a look at the old Torah, the old book, and they talk about the Kohanim checking people for the plague and all that. But this one's very interesting because it talks about the interplay, what the scientists did, how they had to make a living because they didn't have a regular job. They had benefactors, okay? And how you would schmooze, and about the technology back then. So if you really want to get a feel for the lives, you know, because you hear about all these names and they're all disconnected from each other. Well, it wasn't so. They were all talking to each other. They were all writing to each other, and about the technology, and about the thing was is that, you know, more than a few were trying to transmute lead into gold and all that. And the type of experiments that they did, this book really talks about that, and the politics and science and plagues, you know. It hasn't changed. It's still going around. But yeah, I got this at the $5 bookstore in Stevie Valley.
Is it nonfiction or is it
It's fiction. It's a fiction, but it puts all these people together.
Yeah, like
There's actually a history between them, you know.
Yeah. It sounds like historical fiction.
Historical fiction, but there's a lot of truism in it, you know.
That's
how they did, and how I learned about a lot about old England, you know, about the issues and what they went through, you know. I haven't got to the point where they probably finger Newton. Isaac Newton, at the end of his career, wasn't a scientist. He was in charge of the mint.
Hi.
That's my lovely wife. She was on another Zoom.
Hi, Robin.
A big alchemist, right?
Yeah, they were into alchemy, and but the things that they did to keep things afloat with the government, you know, was talked about, and the fact that Newton was put in charge. Also about, you learn about London back then, you know.
Hey, Mike, your microphone went weak somehow.
You faded out.
Can you hear me now?
But barely.
Okay, that's weird because
the other one that was good from that is Daniel Defoe. If you ever read it, Journal of the Plague Year.
Pepys also had one
He
too.
did the Count of Monte Cristo, wasn't that it? Did he write that? Oh, that was Defoe.
Defoe.
I thought it was Robinson Crusoe.
Robinson Crusoe, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess he wrote that. It's really interesting. But his journal from I think it's 1668, Journal of the Plague Year. You know, because I don't know when it was published. It would have been interesting to find out. I think it was published like kind of during his lifetime. I could be wrong. Was that same thing? Just kind of like somebody who's really cosmopolitan.
Who, Isaac Newton?
I don't know if you knew Isaac Newton, but just it's a really interesting to read that
They all
journal of
knew-
the plague.
they
You know,
all-
plague
They
in
all
London
knew each
at that
other
time.
because
Isaac Newton he went out, left London and went out to his country estate to escape the plague in 1660, and that's where he wrote his book, the Principia.
Well, he didn't write it then. He came up with the ideas then.
Right.
And then it was Halley that convinced him.
Yeah.
There was a great article today I saw where some Slovak grad student and his advisor noticed that if you have a catalog of all the Principia's first editions that are known about, it was all in the Western world because of the Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
And they went around and looked in all these old libraries in Czechoslovakia and Poland and Bulgaria, and they found like 338 more copies of first editions out there.
Wow.
Not to mention didn't they find a Galileo first edition?
Or
It got
Da
stolen?
Vinci or something, yeah.
Some university found that in their library stacks that they didn't know they had it, I think.
No, there was a guy in London, a rare book dealer, who lost the stuff 3 or 4 years ago. Like people, they actually drilled through the roof. I just heard on BBC this morning.
Yeah, he got it back.
They found it in a under a floor, cemented floor, like a tile floor in Romania. And
Of all places.
Yeah, they dug it up and they found, and everything got back except for 3 that got water damage. But they had, all these kind of, I think they said it was like $4 million worth of books.
Huh.
This was Galileo's book?
They had, I don't know exactly which one it was, but it's like all these kind of first editions, these like really important books, and they've been gone for years. And I guess a Romanian gang or whatever stole it, but it ended up, they hid it underneath a floor, like they actually paved the floor on top, and somehow they got tipped off, and he got it today.
Wow.
Since we're doing book club, I have it here on my desk. Here's my recommendation. I don't know if you guys, this one's fun. It's not super eggheady, but Time Travel: A History. It's kind of like what's that?
Oh, I was just chuckling at the cover.
Yeah. It's a really good kind of like half scientific, half cultural look at time travel and literature. So obviously it's heavy on the time machine, but then it kind of goes into, it's kind of like what Mike's talking about. It's about like how the fiction and narratives kind of worked with actual scientific discoveries. But I don't know, I read it twice. I found it so good. I'm kind of going back through it. So that's my telescope club.
Why does that author look so familiar?
James Clark, he's written a really good book about chaos, the sort of not invention, but like the formation of chaos theory was a big book he wrote. And then there was one there's a couple of books, which I'm not really into, but he wrote a couple of books about information.
He's a science popularizer
too.
Yeah.
He did one on Isaac Newton?
Yeah, Isaac Newton.
I think that I read that book.
Yeah. Then it's like What Just Happened, a chronicle from the information frontier. I haven't read that one. Oh, he wrote a book about Feynman too, I guess.
What's that author's name again?
James Gleick, Gleick.
Okay.
You could ignore the giant coffee stain from this morning.
It's
kind of hard to read.
I'm trying to find the. I'll have to show it to you one of these days. I did a presentation on Hook on the monument to the Great Fire of London is actually a telescope.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to find this here. They him and Pepys and I forget the other one, Christopher Wren. Okay. Christopher Wren and him were supposed to redesign London, and that monument is actually a telescope that he built to try and take a look at the parallax of stars to determine how far stars were away. And it never worked properly. It worked, but it never worked properly because of it was on a major thoroughfare, and it got shook up by all the wagons with their loads. And
it's still there. You can go look at it.
And what people used to do, I don't know if you still can. Yes, you can. It's got a spiral staircase that goes all the way up. Okay.
Oh, it's that big?
It's that big. And the thing is that below, what people didn't really realize is that there's a door that opens up, and that's where they put the eyepiece. And they have this very ornate thing. I'm trying to find it here, doggone it. Where it flops over, and they would put the lens in there, and they would look straight up. And so the idea was that it was like a immovable transit, but it never worked. And that they said about the only thing he did with it was reprove Galileo's thing by dropping things off the monument. You know, it was that mentality that they would try lots of different experiments. A lot of them didn't work, and so this book.
What was it? The Earl of Ross's scope was like two gigantic walls supporting a big giant tube, and it only looked one direction.
The one in Ireland? Is that the one in Ireland?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they say it was like, the visibility over there.
Yeah.
It's not a year. It's like the west coast of Ireland.
Well, let's just say he probably didn't lose much sleep over the hobby.
That's it there?
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Where is that? That's in London?
It's in London, right by the Thames.
Yeah.
Monument Square, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And you go inside there, in the bottom part is the
Is that a photograph of the Great Fire of London?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Recreated in Santa Barbara a few years ago.
Right.
That much later Fire of London, Turner just ran down with there's all these great paintings by Turner of the, I guess, what was it, 1850 something fire. There's all these great paintings of Turner just ran down with watercolors. And as Parliament burned, he just was painting it. And there's all these, they're awesome. They're really beautiful. And then he made like big finished paintings, but he just ran down like a reporter and just made sketches of the Parliament burning all night.
Boy, talk about spur of the moment.
Yeah, he just ran down there.
Set up an easel and go at it in the middle of a forest fire.
Must have been able to paint very fast.
Well, it's watercolor, so you could do it. He probably worked on 4 things at the same time. He probably would he would just have stuff all at his feet, then grab it, work on it all night,
According to this book here, you know how they stopped the fire?
Just let it burn, right?
No.
That's what I thought, yeah.
No. They started blowing up people's houses.
Yeah, take down the buildings. Yeah.
That's right.
What did they use for that? Must have been gunpowder.
Yeah, it was. And a very interesting thing, intrigue, is the fact that the way the cannons were built, you had to be careful about how coarse or how fine the gunpowder was.
Brown.
You needed gunpowder that was coarse so that it would burn slowly. If you ground it up finely, it was like go off in a flash and it would blow apart the cannons.
You know what I was thinking? Yeah. I was thinking today, Mike, that I've been working on this 8-inch scope so long. It's gone through 2 forest fires, the flooding of the freeway, and now a pandemic.
Disaster scope.
I got you beat. The 10-inch mirror took me 30 years to finish because I started it back in the 80s in Simi Valley, and it went through 2 major earthquakes, countless of fires there, and the fires in Santa Barbara when I finally finished it with you guys.
Historical scopes.
It says one thing about us. Either we persevere, or 2, we don't know when to quit.
Ed Edwards one night, Tom Totten, one of the great things about this Zoom stuff is we can get people like Christopher Olivo, to come and join. And I think even Hank, you don't live in Santa Barbara?
I live in Nolita. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Because there's a lot of guys like Gail Massey that wanted to come to our workshops, but he couldn't because he can't drive at night. So, and Ed Edwards for sure couldn't come because he's down in Carpinteria, but he couldn't be he's had something like he told me something like about 6 or 8 eye operations. So there's no way he can drive at night.
They have been invited, so they're on the list of people that have seen the email how to do the Zoom. So
Gail Massey declined. He said thank you, but he doesn't have the equipment to participate on the Zoom thing. And he's a member of his wife's a member of the homeowners association here, and we do our meetings by Zoom, and she calls in by phone, so they don't have any.
Oh, okay.
Anti-Zoom.
It'd be neat to get Ed Edwards with it. I haven't talked to him in years. And Michael Dilly as well. I don't even know where he went.
He'd probably be in bed by now.
That's East Coast, isn't it? Yeah. So it'd be too late for him.
Weather's good. He should be up.
Yeah.
Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm Jewish. I belong to a temple, and when we do our services Zoom, and one of the ladies' mothers is in Florida, and she's always on there for services. So she's up till about 11 o'clock. So
look at the kitty. Look at Chuck's kitty.
Yeah.
Bad luck.
Looks disapproving.
So I wanted to show you guys a cover that I just ordered for my Dob, because the Dob came with a thin little cover, and so I found something that would work as a cover, and here it is. It's a bar stool cover, so these slip covers. So this it's got this elastic around the bar.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah,
that's nice.
So you're gonna put that on? That's cool.
Those were called shower caps.
Yeah, shower caps work great.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't go to hotels anymore, so we can't take them back with us from the.
Oh, now that's a vinyl one?
Yeah, I think this is more vinyl. I got another one that was cloth, but I thought the vinyl might be a little bit more protective against moisture.
Yeah, way better with the dew. Dew is really horrible.
Not to mention dust. Dust can get through certain cloths.
Yeah.
Mike, I painted my 10-inch Dob with tung oil. And the tung oil, turns out it really looks beautiful. It has this real tawny gold look. But when it gets in moisture, oh my God. And then after that, the next day in sunlight, it just turns to goo. It's just not the best paint. I'm pretty sure that polyurethane would be the best coating for a telescope. That's finding it out the hard way. I'm gonna have to probably resand everything. Maybe do what Christopher did and paint it. What did you call yours, Christopher? The fiery tomato or
tomato was the color. That tung oil never off gases forever. Like I do shelves. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's
still sticky.
Oh yeah, it won't completely polymerize.
Linseed oil would probably work better if you wanted to use an oil. It doesn't have.
Yeah, but how do you get the original oil out so that you can put the other stuff on?
Probably just sand it down.
Sand it, lightly sand it. The plywood, I've been working on. I know some of you guys know I started building a guitar, or trying to, and part of the process is getting. Really likes this. You build a work board called a Solera. And instead of using MDF, I used plywood. And I found out the hard way that some of this really beautiful Baltic birch plywood that's been around forever, as soon as I sanded down in for the first layer, which is really thin, I ran into all kinds of stuff. I mean, there were big voids. There was string inside the plies. It's just nasty stuff. It's not like it used to be. So, the that, the plywood, as far as like boards go, is on the telescopes and resanding them. I'd kind of be afraid to do it.
Yeah. MDF, I've learned, is much more stable than plywood. It's more dense.
I'm going to have to say goodbye here. It's been fun.
Okay, Jared, me too. I've actually got to leave
I'll see
too.
you all next week.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
You guys want to see one real quick thing before you go? I was just gonna
Sure.
offer to share.
Sure.
Brought this.
Thanks for the help, you guys. I really appreciate the help tonight. I needed that.
Let's see what I do.
Right in the middle of the bottom of your screen, it says share screen.
Oh, okay. I tried the upper left. Let's see.
No,
It's green with an arrow.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. So this is, I think, is a trilobite I found out in the desert, a trilobite fossil.
Looks like a rock.
It's actually shale. It's latham shale. It's about 500 million years old.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we were searching all over. I know it doesn't look like much. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I think it's oriented the top part towards the head, which is a cephalon, and then you can kind of see the ribs going out on the sides. It doesn't look like, exactly like a trilobite. That this right edge there, you can kind of see, part of the ellipse.
Yeah.
That's the body.
What desert did you find this in?
So that's in the Mojave. It's down near Amboy, a little bit south of Amboy. There's an Amboy crater there, and it's off Route 66, just off Route 66 a bit. So, but anyway, just thought I would show that. And
500 million years old?
Yeah, it's about like 510 million or something. So here are a few stats on trilobites. They were pretty much one of the only animals on the earth. First ones, they were all over the earth. 20,000 species of trilobites. They lasted 270 million years. They went out just about when dinosaurs were coming in. And, but I mean, just pretty amazing. Longest one was about 2.5 feet long. There's a 2.5 foot fossil from Morocco. But they're a very successful, group of species, but very, very successful. First eyes, and their eyes were actually a lens that was designed, the compound eye. They were made of a crystal, and the front shape was, like circular, but the back was sort of a wavy pattern. And they think that they evolved in that thing so it could basically focus both close and far better with a fixed focus. So anyway, a lot of fascinating things about them.
Yeah.
So,
Was a trilobite, was it a bottom feeder just kind of scooting along the bottom of the ocean?
yeah, the closest thing that that would look like is a horseshoe crab. They kind of look like horseshoe crabs. So anyway, my friends had gone there and they said, "Hey, we're setting up a trip. You want to go?" We ended up having about 7 or 8 people go, and nobody found much of anything. I collected some rocks and thought I'll look at it later. And I looked at this and I thought, I think that might be one. And I still have a bunch of samples of the shale that I was going to look at, and some of them are thick enough that I'm going to very carefully break them apart. They break apart like I'm going to stop the share like leaves basically. But anyway, it was a good excuse. The thing that really drew me out there was to be able to take the telescope and look out in a real dark sky. It was great. So
yeah.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night,
Jerry.
Bye.
I got to leave too, guys.
See you.
All right. See you
All right.
next time.
See you next week, okay?
Good. We'll see you guys.
Okay, toodaloo. See y'all.
In the meeting. All right.